Discover incredible life-changing secrets to survive Victorian London. Touching stories revealed. Amidst the soot and smog of Victorian London, where the air was thick with coal dust and dreams were often stifled, Clara worked tirelessly as a seamstress. At just 22, her hands were calloused, yet skilled. Each stitch she made in the worn fabric mirrored her hopes for a future far removed from the cramped apartment she shared with her ailing mother and rambunctious younger siblings. Day after day, as she worked on the lavish gowns of her wealthy clients, Clara's heart would race with visions of a brighter life for her family. Was it truly possible to break the chains of poverty that bound them? With every flick of her needle, she poured all her love into the clothing she crafted. Those gowns shimmered with intricate beading, mirroring the dreams shimmering in her own eyes. Clara often caught herself daydreaming about a life filled with laughter, warmth, and the joy of having enough food on the table. The bustling streets outside her tiny window echoed with the cries of hawkers and the relentless murmur of the city, but her mind drifted away, longing for a taste of the American dream where hard work could lead to prosperity. However, these aspirations were quickly tested when hearsay whispered through the garment district about Mr. Hawthorne, a factory owner whose insatiable greed loomed over the workers like a shadow. His indifference threatened to crush the meager livelihoods they fought so hard to uphold. Clara's heart quickened, ignited by the injustice. She recalled the stories she'd heard of those who had risen in rebellion against such tyranny. The fire blazing within her was undeniable. As her friendships with fellow seamstresses deepened, she found comfort in their shared struggles, laughter, and dreams. But then, Edward entered her world, a charming gentleman with promises of a life far beyond the drudgery she knew. He offered her a future that glittered, drawing her away from the suffocating reality of her current life. How could she choose between the needs of her family and the seductive pull of her dreams? The uncertainty sat heavy in her chest. Just when Clara began to reconcile these conflicting desires, calamity struck. The ground shook, and a deafening crash erupted as Mr. Hawthorne's factory collapsed. Panic swirled through the streets. Clara stumbled outside. Her heart sank when she saw her friends, once vibrant and full of life, now injured and trapped beneath the rubble. This was no mere misfortune, this was an embodiment of the oppression they faced every day. Feeling the pulse of her community resonating through her, she clutched her needle like a weapon of change. Every stitch became emblematic of her fierce determination to unite her fellow seamstresses. Their strength could stand against the mighty walls of greed. But then, a betrayal loomed ahead. Edward's connections to Mr. Hawthorne twisted the fabric of her trust. Pain crushed her heart like the factory that collapsed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing at the crossroads of loyalty and justice, Clara felt the weight of her family's future heavy on her shoulders. Would she stand with those who had risked everything, or allow the allure of a gilded life to sway her? Her heart raced as she sought answers in the eyes of her community. Their hope rested on her shoulders. Would she rise to be the leader they needed, or would she falter under pressure? In that moment of uncertainty, Clara's world hung in the balance, her choices poised to ripple through the lives of everyone she loved. Clara stood in the chaos, her heart pounding like a drum. The cries of her friends mingled with the sounds of collapsing bricks, creating a dissonant symphony of despair. She glanced around, desperate for someone to guide her, someone to help her decide what to do next. The shadows of betrayal loomed over her faster than the dust cloud rising from the wreckage under which her friends lay trapped. Without thinking, she darted towards the scene, dodging falling debris. "Help! Someone help!" she shouted, her voice barely rising above the chaos. As she reached her colleague Agnes, Clara's heart twisted painfully at the sight. Agnes was pinned beneath a large beam, their shared laughter from just days ago echoing painfully in her mind. "Clara, I can't move," Agnes gasped, tears filling her eyes. The sight ignited a fire within Clara, fueling her need to act. She fell to her knees beside Agnes and grasped her hand tightly. "Hold on. I'm going to get you out." Clara's voice held a strength she didn't fully feel, but it was enough to keep Agnes from losing hope. Around them, the scene evolved into an urgent rush of bodies. Other seamstresses were rallying to help, crying out for tools, for the strength to lift the beams, to carve a path to freedom. Clara found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity, and for the first time, she felt a deep sense of purpose amidst her chaos. Every stitch of fabric she had sewn echoed in her mind a reminder that together, they were strong. "Over here! Pass me that iron bar!" Clara yelled, her voice cutting through the panic as she coordinated efforts, rallying her fellow workers into action. Though her hands trembled, they trembled with resolve. This was no longer about her dreams, it was about survival, about community. As they managed to lift the beam just enough for Agnes to slip out, Clara's heart soared. But the victory was short-lived. The tremors from the factory still echoed through the streets, and she could feel the ground shake underfoot. What if this was only the beginning? What if Mr. Hawthorne's greed had sealed their fates? Once freed, Agnes dropped to the ground, gasping for breath. "You saved me," she said, eyes wide with both gratitude and anguish. "There's still more to do," Clara urged, scanning the area desperately. Other victims remained trapped in the shadows, and their lives rested precariously in the balance. As Clara determinedly worked alongside her friends to free the injured, Edward appeared in the distance, his posture tense, looking out of place amid the chaos. The sight of him sent a jolt through Clara. She wanted to hate him, to cast aside the fascination he stirred in her. But there he stood, face pale, as he surveyed the destruction. Was it guilt in his eyes, or just mere shock? A knot of conflicting emotions twisted in her chest. He had ties to Mr. Hawthorne, yet she knew he wasn't completely heartless. Did he even realize the depth of the pain his associate had inflicted? "Edward!" she called, propelled forward as if drawn by an invisible cord, but the moment she laid eyes on him, her voice faltered. Was he here to help? As she approached, a silent plea hung between them. Would he offer assistance, or would he turn his back, allowing the suffering around him to continue? Clara inhaled sharply, every heartbeat echoing the weight of her decision. The reality of the situation pressed in around her like the oppressive London fog. She was torn between her heart's desire and the cries of her community, and nothing could hold her in place forever. Would Clara find the strength to confront Edward and the truth of his loyalty? Or would despair swallow her community whole, leaving her feeling powerless? Something had to give, and Clara knew the moment of reckoning was coming. "Edward!" Clara's voice broke the air, an urgent call filled with desperation. His head snapped toward her, surprise flickering across his features. But as he stepped closer, fear dashed through her. What did she really know about him? She forced herself to focus, to push aside the turmoil swirling in her heart. "We need help. There are others trapped under the debris. Can you find something to lift the beams?" Edward looked around, his face showing the same shock she felt. "I can," he stammered. "Just show me where." Clara didn't waste a second. She pointed toward a pile of rubble nearby. "There." He sprinted to the location, picking up a large wooden plank. As he hefted it, Clara felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. If Edward was willing to work, there might be a path forward. With renewed vigor, Clara turned back to Agnes. "Can you stand?" She squeezed Agnes's hand. The other woman nodded weakly, her determination shining through her pain. "Let us move." "I'll help you," Clara said gently, wrapping her arm around Agnes's waist. The tremors returned, rattling the ground beneath them. Clara's breath caught in her throat, fear clawing at her resolve. She glanced at Edward, who had swung the plank and joined others in lifting debris. He was no longer just an outsider, he was part of them now. "Careful! Move slowly!" Clara shouted as they made their way toward the sounds of distress. They spotted a cluster of women huddled together beneath what remained of a crumbled wall. Clara's heart sank as she saw soft faces twisted with terror. "Help us!" one cried out, her voice trembling with despair. Clara hurriedly motioned for Edward, who joined her side, adrenaline coursing through both of them. "We need to clear that away," Edward indicated a heavy stone precariously balanced above the terrified women. "On three," Clara called, shifting into a leader's role, her fear momentarily replaced by determination. 1, 2, 3, with all their strength combined, they lifted the stone, moments stretching into an eternity. Clara's muscles burned, but the gritting of her teeth felt like empowerment, like they were reclaiming their lives from the rubble. The women gasped in relief as they crawled free, one by one. Tears of gratitude flowed, mingled with the dust of destruction. Clara felt herself softening, pulled into this shared humanity, this indomitable spirit. But as they rejoiced in these small victories, Clara felt a stirring inside her. Betrayal was a fever pitch, simmering just below the surface. "Why?" she asked Edward in a hushed tone, the others around them momentarily forgotten. "Why are you here?" He looked a mix of shame and determination. "I came to get you. To help. I couldn't stand by knowing you were in danger." But Clara saw the shadow of Mr. Hawthorne lurking behind his words. "Help us? Or help yourself?" His gaze dropped, the tension between them tight. "I know my family's mistakes, and I want to make it right, but that doesn't mean make it right?" Clara snapped, disbelief lacing her voice. "You're linked to the one who put us here." Before he could respond, another tremor shook the ground. Clara stumbled, trying to regain her footing, but her heart raced for another reason now. The building's structure was more tenuous than she thought, and their window of safety was quickly closing. Around them, people were beginning to panic again. The fear grew, spreading like wildfire. Clara's throat tightened as she watched others trapped once more within the uncertainty. "Clara, we need to go," Edward urged, panic rising in his voice. But something inside her rebelled against retreat. This was their fight. This was their chance to reclaim their lives. "No, there are still people here." The urgency surged through her, and she gripped Edward's arm fiercely. "You have to choose, Edward. This is your moment. Are you with us or against us?" His eyes met hers, swirling with uncertainty and conflict. "I'm with you," he said quietly. "But will it be enough?" As another wave trembled through the ground, Clara felt the stakes grow higher. She had set Edward on a path now where would that lead them both? Would they find a way out together, or would this moment of truth fracture their fragile alliance? The light around them was dimming, and Clara could feel time slipping away as she awaited his answer. "Clara!" Edward's voice cut through the chaos, grounding her in the swirling panic that threatened to consume them. His eyes shone with urgency, the weight of her challenge pressing down on him. "Let us find more people," she shouted back, her heart racing. She couldn't let fear take hold. Behind them, cheers erupted as the freed women groped their way through the rubble, desperate but fiercely alive. Pushing aside her doubts about Edward, she moved deeper into the wreckage, her heart beating hard against her chest. Each tremor of the earth felt like an urgent reminder they were running out of time. "Stay close," Clara warned. Edward fell into step beside her, the board from earlier still in his grip. As they navigated through the twisted metal and stone, Clara caught sight of a woman on the ground, a boy clinging to her waist, eyes wide with fear. "Help!" the boy cried, anguish lacing his voice. Clara rushed over, kneeling beside them. "Hey, you're safe now. We'll get you both out." The woman's eyes met Clara's, filled with unyielding terror. "I can't move," she gasped, pain riddling her words. Clara quickly looked to Edward, who was already striding forward. "Let us shift this." Together, they lifted a heavy beam that pinned the woman down, sheer adrenaline fueling them. The mother's heart burrowed deeper inside Clara's chest as she felt the weight of the boy press against her side. As they freed the woman, relishing the shudder of triumph between them, the boy reached out to grasp Clara's hand. She held on tightly, aware of the comfort it brought him, one little person finding solace in the chaos. But the moment was fleeting. Another tremor shook the ground, and they staggered, the sound of cracking wood reverberating through the air like the warning of a storm. The energy shifted in an instant, spreading tension back into the crowds. What if we can't get everyone out? Edward voiced her darkest fear as if sensing the thoughts racing through her mind. His brows furrowed in worry, but Clara felt a spark ignite inside her, a sense of resolve. We will, she insisted. Everyone. She turned back down the path they'd carved, glancing at the survivors easing away from the wreckage. But we need to make this move count. What do you mean? Edward asked, confusion mixing with a glimmer of hope in his voice. Trust me. We need to work together. It's the only way we stand a chance against this. She rallied the remaining group, voicing her plan to prioritize those still trapped. Edward, grab some of those men over there, she shouted, pointing. He nodded, his face hardening with determination as he beckoned others to join. Within moments, they were a unit, strangers united against fate, ready to lift what remained of their lives from the rubble. But as they began to lift another beam, Edward's arm brushed against Clara's, sending a jolt through her. That contact ignited something unexpected within her, feelings she tried so hard to suppress. Could he really be on their side? Or was it all still just self-interest veiled as kindness? In the midst of their struggle, one thought pressed against her heart: hope could only guide them if they had unity. But could that bond survive after all she'd discovered? Keep moving, she urged the group, channeling their fear into a surge of collective strength. More dust billowed around them, blinding her momentarily as voices blended into the sound of their fight. Clara's muscles screamed in protest as they pushed on, but she pushed harder, the thought of abandoning anyone fueling her efforts. And as they finally lifted the barrier blocking another group, her gaze caught Edward's, his expression soft but far from resolved. What are you really willing to risk? She asked quietly, her question a challenge against the collapse of everything they stood for. He was quiet, the flicker of the immediate reality flooding his face as he struggled with her question. The future felt like a rickety bridge, but they were both standing on it, teetering dangerously between trust and doubt. But just as she was about to press for an answer, a distant rumble echoed, freezing them all in place. Fear surged back through the crowd like a wave. The aftermath was growing unstable, and Clara could feel the earth holding its breath. Whatever truth loomed ahead, they had to confront it head-on. Would their fragile alliance hold, or would the wreckage bear down upon them all? The weight of their indecision hung heavy as they awaited the next tremor. The ground rumbled again, a deep growl beneath their feet that felt as if the world itself were shifting and uncertain. Clara's heart raced, sinking with the frantic energy coursing through the crowd. They couldn't linger in this indecision. Fear was a hungry beast, and each moment wasted was a moment of terror that could consume them all. Focus! We need to keep moving, Clara shouted, her voice breaking through the palpable anxiety. She looked into Edward's eyes, willing him to understand the weight of her words. We're not just saving ourselves. We're here to save everyone. He swallowed hard, the tension in his shoulders easing just a fraction. Right. Let us move. He threw himself into the effort, gathering people around, some injured, others dazed, all clinging to the flicker of hope Clara tried to stoke within them. With steadfast resolve, they resumed their work, pushing debris to uncover those trapped beneath. Each shift brought newfound strength, bolstered by the cries of gratitude from those they freed. Clara felt a deep connection brewing within this group of strangers, threading them together in their mutual fight for survival. It was raw, real, and almost beautiful, even amid the destruction. Yet, even as hearts began to unite, the earth beneath them crackled with instability. The weight of what loomed ahead hovered in the air like a big storm cloud, pressing down heavily. Clara caught a glimpse of fear etched in Edward's face again when another tremor shook the broken landscape. She could have sworn she heard a faint snap echoing through the air. Get ready! She shouted, her voice laced with urgency. Stay low! The crowd instinctively obeyed, ducking down. The chaos transformed into a temporary calm, punctuated only by the distant moans of trapped individuals and the sound of heavy breath. Clara focused, scanning the crowd for faces that needed reassurance, for voices that needed strength. Togetherness. Community. Those were her weapons against despair. A little girl emerged from behind a toppled car, dirt-streaked and wide-eyed. Clara's heart twisted. She rushed to the child. "Hey there, sweetie. What's your name?" "Lila," the girl whispered, her voice barely audible. "Lila, you're brave. We're going to get you back to your mom." Clara tucked a loose strand of hair behind Lila's ear. That touch sparked something in Clara, a softening of her fears and doubts. But the ground shattered the fragile moment as another tremor rocked the earth. Clara gripped Lila's hand tightly, pulling her closer as they both fell to the ground. Dust billowed around them like thick fog, brimming with uncertainty. "Stay down!" Edward's urgent voice cut through the noise. He was beside her now, eyes scanning for further danger. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etching his features. Clara nodded, but she felt the weight of Lila's small hand in hers, a gentle reminder of the innocence caught in the turmoil. She took a breath, restoring her resolve. "We have to keep going." As they helped each other back up, it became painfully evident that the rubble shifted again, threatening to crush everything they had fought for. Time was not their ally anymore. "Clara!" Edward snapped, pulling her toward another collapsed area. "There are cries here." Clara nodded, her heart racing along with his determination. She knew urgency had replaced any lingering doubt. "Let us go." With every effort, Clara felt her breath traveling deeper, her body brushing against the debris, risking everything to reach just one more person. Each moment echoed the choices they faced. Would they be able to stand firm together, to truly understand what it meant to rely on one another? The ground rumbled again, this time, louder, harsher. Clara's mind whirled. As the noise surged, a heart-dropping realization struck her. "We're running out of time," she shouted. Would they still find everyone trapped beneath the weight of the world then? From the shadows of a jagged collapse, a familiar voice reached her ears, one she hadn't expected to hear in this chaos. "Help me!" Clara froze. Was it possible? Could it really be someone she knew? She exchanged a frantic glance with Edward. "Simon!" she urged, and they plunged into the rubble, driven as much by fear as by hope. Who was it? Clara's pulse raced. What would she discover as they pushed forward? Clara's heart thundered in her chest as she and Edward dove into the debris. Each piece of rubble felt like a potential danger, every shift of the earth a reminder of how fragile their situation was. "Stay close," Edward hissed, moving with a sense of urgency that pushed Clara forward. "Who is it?" she shouted, her voice straining against the groans of the collapsing buildings around them. "Can you hear me? We're coming." I can't see." The familiar voice broke again, this time laced with desperation. "Over here." Clara's chest tightened. She dug through a pile of concrete slabs, her hands shaking with adrenaline and fear. Time was slipping through her fingers, just like the dust cloud thickening around them. With every passing second, she felt the weight of lives resting on her courage. Edward was beside her, his expression determined yet pale. "We can do this, Clara." His voice was low, steadying, but she saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Don't think about the fear," she urged, pushing harder. "Think about who needs us." Another tremor rumbled beneath them. Clara felt the world tilting. "Hurry!" she gasped. The voice called out again, louder this time, "Please, I can't breathe." Clara's hands moved faster, frantic movements pulling away debris to uncover the source. Edward helped, working together in a rhythm born of necessity. Clara's mind raced with memories of laughter shared, moments stolen. "Who is it, please?" she shouted, the raw edge of panic growing sharper. Then, as the fog of dust began to settle, the figure emerged small, injured and trapped. Clara's breath hitched, her heart swelling and breaking all at once. "Jacob!" she exclaimed. The boy's face, dirt-streaked and terrified, was filled with a mixture of hope and despair. Clara knelt down, her hands brushing against his disheveled hair. "We're here. We're going to get you out," she assured him, her voice a blend of love and strength. "Is Mom okay?" Jacob's eyes sparkled with fear, the innocence of a child clinging to the last threads of hope. Clara exchanged a glance with Edward, her heart aching. "We'll find her," she promised, forcing herself to sound confident. "We need to work together." "Give me your hand," Edward urged the boy, extending his arm. As Jacob took Edward's hand, Clara dug deeper, her heart beat loud in her ears. She suddenly felt the intensity of the moment. The weight of their situation was no longer just about survival. It was about family. It was about love and the bonds that tied them together. With one final heave, they pulled Jacob free, where he fell into Clara's waiting arms. "I thought I was going to die," he sobbed, buried against her. She held him tightly, tears blurring her vision. "We've got you," she whispered fiercely. "You're safe now." But the ground rumbled again, more fiercely this time, sending vibrations through her bones. Clara's gut twisted as dread filled the space where elation had blossomed moments before. "Edward, we need to get out!" she yelled, turning to see Edward scanning the wreckage, his brow knit with both determination and fear. "What about the others?" he asked, a hitch in his voice. "There's no time," Clara shouted back. "We have to go." "But—" Edward hesitated, scanning the debris around them, a flicker of doubt creeping back into his eyes. Suddenly, Jacob pulled away a bit, looking up at them with wide, innocent eyes. "But what if there are other kids? We have to help them too." Hope and possibility twisted tight within Clara's chest. Was it right to leave anyone behind? The weight of their choice loomed large, clawing at her mind. "Clara," Edward began, but the ground growled again, more angrily this time, as if echoing their internal conflict. The world hung in uncertainty, and Clara felt every second count. Would they act with courage, or would they let fear dictate their next move? "Together?" she whispered, and as she looked between the two boys, her heart raced with the intensity of the decision. Would she risk everything to stay for Jacob and for the chance that others might still be trapped? Or would she follow the instinct to run? "Together," she whispered again, but what would that truly mean? Clara's heart raced as she gazed at Jacob, then at Edward. Everything hung in the balance. The anguished boy, so small yet so brave, looked up at her with a plea that pierced through the chaos. "Can we help them?" Jacob asked, voice trembling but resolved. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to be the hero that not only saved him but brought everyone home. But could they take that risk? Clara caught a glimpse of Edward's face, his blue eyes battling between duty and fear. "Jacob," she started, hope mixing with despair, "we want to help too, but what if it's too dangerous?" Edward shot her a glance, his resolve stark against the crumbling world around them. "We can do this, Clara. We have to at least look." "No!" she exclaimed, panic bubbling inside her like a pot ready to boil over. "What if something happens?" "If we're stuck, then we're stuck together," Edward interrupted, firm yet gentle as he reached for her hands. "Look, if we don't try, we might lose Jacob's mom, or worse, others. We owe it to them." The ground shook again, dust motes dancing in the air. The reality of their situation crashed over Clara like a wave. Suddenly it wasn't just about survival. It was about hope, about preserving the thread of life still tied to this place. She could feel Jacob's grip tightening on her sleeve. "Please," his voice quavered. "I can't lose her, not like this." Clara swallowed hard, fighting back tears. She crouched down, meeting Jacob at eye level, letting her heart speak. "We will find her, I promise. But we have to be quick and smart. Follow my lead, okay?" He nodded, determination now glinting in his eyes. Edward took a deep breath, nodding along, and Clara felt the weight of their collective fear morphing into courage. They were in this together, a family bound by love amidst the rubble. "Together," she echoed, and it sounded like hope. They began moving, methodically, calling out for any life beneath the wreckage. The world moaned around them, but they pressed on, fueled by the bond that now pulsed between them, a shared purpose, a collectively beating heart. "Is anyone there?" Clara shouted, her voice echoing between the ruins. Silence fell, punctuated only by the distant sounds of sirens that seemed impossibly far away. The agony of waiting gnawed at her insides. After what felt like an eternity, a soft whimper floated back through the debris. I'm here. Help. The voice was weak, trembling. It was live like a spark in the suffocating darkness. Hang on. Edward called, urgency flooding his voice. They reached the source, a small void in the rubble, and there they found another child, no older than Jacob, trapped and panic-stricken. Clara's heart ached seeing the fear mirrored in the child's eyes. You're safe now, she coaxed, extending her hand. We'll get you out. But then the ground trembled again, louder this time. Clara's instincts screamed at her, horror looming as the concrete shifted dangerously. The decision weighed heavily on her. Clara, we have to move. Edward's voice broke through, panic interlaced with determination. As she struggled with the choice, leave or stay, save one or leave none, the earth shook violently again, forcing her thoughts into a frenzied whirl. Now! We need to go! Edward shouted, urgency directing his every word. But Jacob and the trapped child looked at her with eyes full of fear and hope. Clara! Edward's voice rang out, filled with desperation. Clara! Jacob echoed, help us! Her words caught in her throat as Clara realized the moment of truth was upon her. The ground roared around them, a furious reminder of their perilous situation. Would she follow her instincts to protect her loved ones from danger? Or would she gamble on the lives of those they could still save? Clara's pulse quickened, and with the weight of their lives pressing down like the rubble surrounding them, she took a deep breath, ready to make a choice that would change everything. Okay, together, she whispered, her voice steadying as she took hold of hope and fear alike. What would that choice mean for all of them? Would it lead to salvation or disaster? Clara felt a rush of adrenaline surge through her body as she extended her hand toward the trapped child. Grab on! The child, barely able to meet her gaze due to the fear radiating from her, hesitated. Clara's heart sank. Time was not on their side. You can do this, she urged, her tone thick with encouragement. I won't let you go. With a shaky breath, the girl took Clara's hand. The moment their fingers connected, Clara felt the spark of hope ignite within her. Can you crawl toward me? Clara asked, trying to keep her voice calm despite the tremors around them. The girl nodded slowly, her small body shaking with the effort. As she inched forward, the ground shuddered once more, sapping Clara's confidence. We have to be quick, Edward shouted, glancing back, his face the picture of anxiety. Clara caught Jacob's worried expression. Stay close to me, okay? He nodded, eyes wide but resolute. They all knew what it was like to face despair. It was almost tangible, thick like smoke swirling around them. Just a little more, Clara encouraged, gritting her teeth against the growing dread. Help! Came a voice from the other side of the rubble. Clara knew they were not alone. The urgency of the situation pressed on her chest. Hold on! She called back reflexively, her attention split between saving this child and the danger surrounding them. The sound of cascading debris made her pulse race as she steadied her breath and turned back. The roof feels unstable, Edward warned, fear etching itself deeper into his features. I can't leave her. We can't! Clara yelled, resolute despite the tremors coursing through the ground. Finally, the girl was close enough that Clara could feel the warmth radiating from her small body. With one final push, the child lunged into Clara's arms, and Clara hoisted her up, steadying them both. Got her! She exclaimed, relief flooding through her. But there was still work to be done. They had to find a way to get out of here. Now we need to move, Edward urged, scanning the remaining paths. Where's the safest way out? The girl cried softly in Clara's arms. My mom is under there, she pointed helplessly at the rubble. Clara, we can't, Edward interjected, panic edging his voice. We have to get to safety first. A heavy weight settled in the pit of Clara's stomach. She could feel Jacob's quiet desperation alongside her own. We can't leave without searching. We can't abandon anyone else. Jacob gripped her arm. Please! We can help her. The earth moaned again, a forewarning. Clara clenched her jaw. Leaving without searching felt like abandoning hope. We have to split up, Clara decided, her heart racing faster than her thoughts. "I'll take the girl and look for her mom, you two go back. If you don't find her, meet us at the entrance. Got it?" "No! I'm not leaving you!" Edward's expression was fiery, filled with determination. "I can't lose her again, Edward. Just trust me," Clara replied, her voice even before faltering. "I won't let anything happen to you." He reached for her, his brow furrowed with concern. Clara looked between them, feeling the tug of their bond. "We can make this work together." With a heavy heart, she turned, leading the girl through the debris. The reality of what lay ahead loomed large, but hope fought with every surge of adrenaline. They had to do this. They had to find her mom. "Stay close," Clara whispered to the girl, sensing their lives were intricately woven in this very moment. "We will get through this." As they stepped further into the wreckage, Clara's heart pounded wildly. What lay ahead could either be their salvation or their doom. But deep down, one question lingered: would they find the strength to save everyone still trapped in the darkness? The ground trembled beneath them, speaking a dire warning to their desperate hearts. The choking dust filled Clara's lungs as she pressed ahead, the weight of the girl clutched tightly against her chest. Each step felt like running through molasses. Every crack of the crumbling walls sent jolts of panic surging through her. She had to find this girl's mother and fast. "Keep your eyes open, okay?" Clara murmured to the little girl, trying to maintain a steady voice. "We're looking for your mom. Can you remember what she was wearing?" The child sniffled, then whispered, "A blue dress with flowers." Clara nodded, pushing back tears. The girl's strength was admirable, and Clara wished she could share her courage. "Stay close," Clara urged again. The girl nodded, but Clara could feel the hesitation within her. "We're going to get through this." They moved deeper into the debris-strewn room, illuminated only by slivers of light breaking through the cracks. Clara tried to focus, her heart racing as she searched for signs of life beneath the toppled furniture and scattered belongings. Every shadow against the rubble seemed to pulse with fears of the unknown. "Mom!" The girl suddenly cried out, her voice cracking with longing. She pointed at a larger mound of wreckage, wood and bricks piled high. Clara's heart leapt. "Wait here," Clara instructed firmly, knowing the girl would want to follow. "No! I want to help." The child's determination tugged at Clara's heartstrings. She felt a swell of compassion. "Okay, but we need to be really careful," Clara relented, taking the girl's hand again as they approached the pile. As they began to sift through the detritus, each piece they moved seemed to bear the weight of their hopes and fears. Clara felt her hands growing numb from the sharp edges of shattered glass and splintered wood. "Please, Mom," the girl whimpered, and Clara could see the small flickering of panic in her eyes. "She's got to be here." The tremors underfoot intensified again, almost as if the earth itself was warning them. Clara paused, glancing over her shoulder, seeking security in the fading light that flickered in from the entrance. "We can't lose hope," she said softly, trying to reassure them both. Just then, Clara's fingers brushed against something warm buried under the rubble. Her breath caught in her throat. She began to dig furiously. "I think I found something." The girl's eyes widened, hope sparking in her despair. "What is it?" she asked, her voice tremulous. With a few more swift movements, Clara uncovered an arm pale and still. A wave of dread washed over her. "Help me! I need more hands!" The child jumped in immediately, her small frame working alongside Clara, desperation fueling their movements. Gradually, they revealed a figure. Clara's stomach lurched as she gently rolled the person onto their back, her heart racing. It was the girl's mother. Clara could hardly process what she was seeing. The woman lay motionless, her blue dress stained and torn. "Mom!" The girl screamed, panic overtaking her. Clara shook the woman gently, calling to her, "Can you hear me? You're safe, we're here." But there was no response. As the ground shuddered violently beneath them, Clara knew they had to act fast. She needed to try to bring the woman back. Hope poured out of her, as she recalled the lessons she had learned long ago. But with each beat of her heart, The universe seemed to conspire against them, each tremble beckoning uncertainty. "Please," Clara whispered, desperate. "Come back to us." Just then, a faint stir seemed to ripple through the woman's body. An eyelid fluttered, and Clara's breath hitched. Maybe, just maybe, hope could win, but before she could reach for more support, a loud crack echoed, and the room shifted again. It was an ominous sound, one that could not be ignored. Clara's heart raced. She had to make a choice to stay and fight for the mother's life or to drag them both to safety before it was too late. Every moment felt agonizingly heavy. What would she decide? Was it too late for hope? Without wasting even a second, Clara locked eyes with the girl, fear mingling with urgency. "We have to go. Now!" she exclaimed, her voice tipping towards panic. The ground rumbled fiercely beneath them, threatening to collapse the very space they stood on. Clara's heart sank, torn between the desperate plea in the girl's gaze and the fear for their own lives. "Please, you have to trust me. We'll come back." But as Clara turned back to the woman, she saw the flicker of understanding in the girl's eyes and acceptance of the difficult choice they had to make. "Mom!" The girl's voice cracked again, a burst of raw emotion sending a fresh wave of determination through Clara. But the reality pressed around them, heavy and suffocating. "Can you move, just a little?" Clara pleaded, focusing on the woman. Hope sparked again as she noticed a flicker of movement in her mother's fingers. "Just hold on. Please!" The seconds stretched into an eternity, as silent prayers filled the air. "Clara!" Edward's voice called from the shadows, urgent and fierce. "We can't stay here. We need to find safety." The sounds of destruction echoed tirelessly, each tremor tightening the knot of fear in Clara's stomach. She could sense her own heart pounding against the walls of her chest. But then the dust shifted as the sun creased through, illuminating the way past the rubble, an escape route that had opened up just as hope began to dwindle. "This way!" she shouted, rushing toward the light. With one last desperate look at the woman, Clara tore her gaze away, frustration and anguish clawing at her resolve. "I'll come back," she vowed silently, gripping the little girl's hand tightly. "Just trust me. I won't let anything happen to you." With the child firmly in tow, Clara pushed forward, pulling them through the debris as her breaths came out in quick gasps. They fought together, every ounce of strength poured into each step. Finally, they broke free into the fresh air. The golden sun bathed them, but the chaos still raged behind them. Clara stumbled, panting, her heart still racing with adrenaline and fear. Edward appeared at her side, his face etched with concern. "What happened? Where's the mother?" Clara's heart shattered a little more with each word, but she didn't have the time to dwell. "I don't know, she's trapped under there. But I had to help the girl." "What about the others?" Edward asked, eyes wide with bravery and resolve. "We need to get everyone out. We can't abandon them." The terrible rumble in the distance roared again through the streets, coaxing the tension to rise. Clara nodded, her resolve solidifying. "Together," she affirmed, feeling a wave of purpose coursing through her veins. "Together," Edward agreed, his expression hardening with determination. As they joined the other survivors lingering close by, Clara felt a sense of responsibility lift within her. She cast another glance toward the wreckage, ready to return. The promise to that little girl clung to her heart like a shield. Clara led the way back into the chaos, calling out to her fellow seamstresses to rally together. Rebuilding the unity that dwindled felt essential. "Listen! We need to stick together. Everyone who can help, let us do this." Amidst shifting shadows and crumbling walls, Clara led a united front into the debris once more. They worked hand in hand, and with every push and shove, a pulse of hope ignited within her heart. They began to lift pieces together, not just as workers but as a family intertwined by fate. "Look!" a voice cried out, exchanging frightened glances from those nearby. "There's more trapped beneath." It was messy, it was chaotic, but every life they uncovered felt like a hard-won victory. Clara paused momentarily and caught sight of Edward, who mirrored her determination, and in that flickering moment of connection, something shifted between them, a vow of trust that ignited a fire of possibility. "We're doing this," she thought fiercely. The collective heartbeat of hope surged, igniting them all into a powerful force, urging the survivors forward. It was no longer a question of if they could save everyone, it was simply a matter of when. With unwavering strength, Clara and Edward orchestrated the rescue mission, lifting debris, coaxing the scared, and embracing those who needed assurance. Clara felt a sense of purpose blossom with every saved life, a precious thread of joy stitched tightly around their shared human experience. And then, against all odds, they uncovered the woman, the childless mother who lay injured yet alive. Clara felt the air catch in her throat. Relief washed over her like sunshine breaking through the clouds. "Mom!" The little girl wept, rushing toward her mother, and in that moment of reconnection, Clara felt a tear slip down her cheek. It was a tear born of triumph, love, and the undeniable strength that comes when community rises together. As they escaped the factory's grip, Clara realized that while fear had driven them into chaos, it was love and unity that had pulled them back into the light. In the crowd of faces, families reunited, and new bonds formed, Clara discovered her own transformation. She was no longer just a seamstress, she was a leader, a beacon of hope for those around her. Amidst the rubble and dust, Clara smiled, her heart swelling with joy. Each wound they had faced had healed something deeper within them. As cheers erupted around her, mingling with laughter and gratitude, she knew this was not just survival. This was a promise to forever stand together in the face of adversity. Together, she whispered into the light, knowing she would never be alone again. And with that, Clara beckoned to those nearby. The sun dipped low against the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city. It was a new dawn. Don't you want to be part of this journey? Now is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss more content like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm with your energy, and keep these stories alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. The time to act is now. You need to be part of this community. Don't wait not even one more second to share.